So there's this principle that Seth Godin, I think, is the first one who brought it up.
This is Auto Collabs.
And he says,
always wear hats backwards in podcast. No,
that's like the pregame. I don't know if I've ever seen Seth Godin in a hat, but I did find out he rides a big Harley.
Whoa.
So I just picture Seth Godin on a Harley.
Wait. Seth Godin rides a big Harley?
Rumor has it. And I just picture him with an orange helmet riding through the streets of New York City in a suit. And it just feels right.
I picture him now wearing a helmet that is a replica of his bald head.
No.
So that no one can tell the difference.
No one can tell the difference.
No, there's definitely goggles involved. It's not like
right.
there's
Absolutely.
definitely goggles involved.
There's got to be a
And
scarf.
and there's actually a new album called Goggins and Godin and Goggles. Right?
Goggins and goggles. Goggins and goggles.
Godin and Goggles. Godin and
Godin and goggles.
Right? So back to that principle
Godin,
now
Goggins,
that
and
I've
goggles.
derailed our whole conversation.
All right, so I do that all the time. I chase the squirrel. But the principle is, he calls it find the others. And he talks about what happens when he talked about it when like the internet came out and all of a sudden, like if you like to wear red hats, you can find other people that wear red hats and you can organize a bus trip full of people that like to wear red hats and go a place, right? In your red hats. But the bottom line is like when you start to find the others, a strange thing starts to happen and you start to believe in what you believe in even more deeply because you've connected with other people who believe the same thing. And today's guest, Matthew Haiken, came to us that way. We put out More Than Cars, episode 1, the pilot episode. If you haven't seen it, morethancars.tv. And he saw it. And he was like, these are my people. Like, I believe the same thing. And so he reached out and we've started to build this relationship. And you realize, man, there are people that believe these things all over the country that we just have no idea that we exist. And so, that's Matthew. I don't know. Does anybody else want to say anything, or should I just roll us into the interview?
Well, I was just thinking about rubber ducks and Jeeps. You guys know the whole, because this is like kind of
it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing,
absolutely.
and I didn't realize it was a whole thing until I moved to the States, where you pass a Jeep on the highway, or you see them in a parking lot, and their whole
There's
dash
like
is covered
ducks.
in
Yes.
rubber ducks.
I don't know what this is.
What?
Apparently,
there's stores that have like buckets of rubber ducks in the front, and like Jeep stores, and people just come and pick a new one.
The funny part is I've seen the rubber ducks, but I've just thought like that's a dealership. They're doing some kind of crazy promo. Throw it in a kiddie pool, and they're gonna like put a percentage underneath of it, and that's your APR.
No, it's basically exactly what you were just talking about, and just adds validity to that thought process in my mind. If you're a Jeep, because that community is tight anyways, almost like motorcycle culture. You pass
not quite waving to each other when we pass, but
right.
Jeep.
They'll leave a little rubber duck on your Jeep for you, and then that Jeep owner displays it on their dash. So it's like just I don't know. I was gonna say it's dumb, but it obviously works because it's so really widespread. Cool. So it's pretty cool.
A massive community,
and that's what
I just realized that I forgot, Michael, that you ride and I ride and Kyle runs, so that's a good combo. You and I can ride, and Kyle can run alongside.
I'll run alongside you guys. Not a problem.
We
we hope you enjoy this conversation, which is all about finding the others with Matthew.
Hey, Matt, thanks for giving us some time today. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes because if I've learned one thing about you, you are unpredictable.
All right, I like that. Hard to read.
He's like, fair.
So let me ask you this question, though. We are fairly new friends, right? We've been both in the industry for a long time, and we just met like a couple of months ago. What was your impression when you saw ASOTU World? Like, what were you even thinking? I always wonder that.
First of all, I tracked you guys down when I saw the first episode that you guys launched.
Oh, of More Than Cars.
Of More Than Cars. And it just blew my mind. Because for so long, I would see all of these long form industry spotlight shows based on real estate, based on aviation, based on marine. And I love automotive retail, and nobody could tackle it. And I saw your first episode and I was like, just that is what I imagined. And I just went nuts, and I tracked you down on social media and said, hey, what's going on? Like, I want to meet you. I love what you did. And then I knew I guess I'm friendly with, am I supposed to drop names or not drop names?
Drop as many names as you
Drop-
want.
Like in succession in order, right?
I've been friends with Liza for many years. We were in the same 20 group, and I guess she's one of your early investors. And I wrote to Liza, and I was like, what is this? Please tell me all about it. She's like, you don't know. And then, we jumped on and we talked, and I think I was more disappointed. Like, where the hell have I been? Like, did I hitch myself to the wrong wagon? Like, if I didn't even know you guys existed. And fast forward,
it's a common
today,
tale these days.
fast forward today, where like I am like all in.
Oh
Joe.
yeah, you are. Oh, you're done now.
I don't even know.
We've roped you into everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah, that's how we connected.
That's it.
Yeah.
Before you know it, Kyle and I are going to show up, looking for a couple couches to crash on. Be like, hey, Matt.
Anytime. It's my pleasure.
So real quick, I want to hear from your perspective, because you're like, I've seen all these shows about different verticals and the way they present their vertical. And then I saw More Than Cars, and it was the way that I imagined it. Like when you mean that, the way that I imagined it, and the way that like that show in particular kind of mapped toward all the other things that you've seen out there for other industries. Like, can you like describe that from your perspective? Because I'm always interested. Like,
it's simple. Like, working in automotive retail is glamorous. It should be something that you are proud to tell your mother-in-law about. Okay. And it's not. People are embarrassed. If people, say, hey, I want to get a job at a car dealership. I don't think it's something that they want to shout through the rooftops. They'll like mumble it. They're embarrassed of it. And that's insane. Because everywhere I go, people want to talk to me about cars and the car industry. And, yesterday, everyone's coming up to me, tell me about the strike. Should I buy a car now? Like, we are leaders in our community. And the stories that make up of our industry are amazing. And one of the metrics I always say, like when I introduce myself and I say, hey, I sell cars, and if people like huff and puff, one thing I've always like leaned on is I was like, do you know how many sports team owners own car dealerships? Do you know the wealthiest two guys on the planet, like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, are the biggest car dealers? Like
car dealers, yeah.
Like everybody wants to be a car dealer, and we need to be proud of this, and we need to, because we're in the people business, and we've got a lot of competition coming down the pike, and everyone thinks that they're the smartest guy in the room and they could reinvent our business, and all the Wall Street people think they know our business, but at the end of the day, we're a people business. And for us to just keep growing and getting stronger and better, we need to attract the best talent to the industry.
So you've been in the industry how long?
Yeah,
then?
I need to.
So this is my 18th year full time. My dad was a single point car dealer operator who had to beg, borrow, and steal to get his first opportunity to be a car dealer.
What brand?
It was Volvo. He had, my dad wasn't very studious as a kid. His parents were very, very hardworking people, and he had a lot of jobs and odd jobs, and jumped in and out of school and kept changing schools and getting thrown out of school, and started as in the lot as a valet, and then became a service advisor, and then became a service manager. Wow. And this same story that you hear over and over again. Worked his way up to becoming a general manager at a store, and the owner promised him some equity. The deal blew up, and he ended up leaving the store after relocating his family, which is, I have two older sisters, and I wasn't even born yet, and had no job. And it was the manufacturers that called him up and said, hey, we want to find an opportunity for you. And he was like, I got no money. They're like, don't worry about it. Let's just find an opportunity for you. And
Wow.
they drove around looking for opportunities. I mean, but like you hear that story every day, and you
don't get that in other
no,
industries.
Oh, are
That
you
doesn't
kidding
happen.
me?
no,
Are
no.
you kidding
Well,
me?
okay, so 18 years. This is like, to go back to the original. So 18, are you seeing an acceleration of those conversations? Like those conversations with friends and family members and people that you happen upon that find out you're a car dealer, and are the conversations about auto? And
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's what
And
I'm
that's new.
experiencing personally.
I think it's new. I mean, everybody always wanted to know, like, oh, I love cars, or tell me how
When's the best time to buy a car?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now it's like we've got sexier things to discuss. Like, tell me about electrification. Tell me about the future. Like, it's all these. I think it's become a little bit more glamorous.
Oh, it's part of pop culture without a doubt. I mean, you look at like even events like CES, right? All of a
100%.
sudden, you see the swirling conversation around cars and tech and PlayStations and like all the integration of pop culture and automotive. We've been saying, one of our little drums that we've been beating for the last year is like car culture, like automotive hasn't been this attractive to the general public since like the 70s, right? When it was like muscle cars, and it's a part of culture now.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, the strike is obviously it's just an economic thing, but you take that out of the equation and people have an interest. You have a really unique spot. When I tell other dealers about you, they get a little interested because you also have a Polestar dealership.
Absolutely. And that's been crazy. And it's been crazy from the beginning, for several things. First of all, we took over a former Tesla showroom. Okay. So,
Oh.
so my Polestar space is in the mall at Short Hills. It's this uber luxury shopping mall outside of New York City. And we secured a spot, and then simultaneously Tesla decided to leave the mall, because now Tesla wants dealerships and EV startups want to be in the mall. Ironic, right?
You're like, this could just work out.
Exactly. So we move into this Tesla space, and just like even uncovering like what was going on in this space, like the bulbs they used that weren't like the LED bulbs that the manufacturers mandate that we get for being green. I mean, these were like just cheap, down and dirty bulbs. To then, it blew my mind. You're like,
Right,
you think
like that's the Tesla bulb? Like
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
expecting something. Like, no, they were like, let's be efficient with the bulb.
Exactly.
We don't have
I mean, genius. I mean, we should learn from that. Quick, efficient. And then, learning how to staff and operate in a mall was totally new to us, and being all in on electrification and the ups and downs of the tax incentives and everything. I mean,
Did people get confused? Like, were people like that walk by, maybe familiar with the mall, still think you were the Tesla store?
they still are confused. I mean, they'll come in with a broken charger and be like, "Hey, my charger's broken. Can you replace it?" We're like, "Oh, we're welcome to Polestar. We're Polestar." Yeah, I know. Yeah, but my Tesla charger's broken. No, we're not. They don't even.
They just associate all electric.
Yeah, right. You
with
plug
Tesla.
these are the ones you plug in, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that'll show you that like the early Tesla adapters were not product design. They didn't care about. They just wanted the product. They don't even look up and notice it.
So what's the experience been being a Polestar? Aside from the retail space, who are the consumers walking in? What are they looking for? What are the hangups? Like you're on the front lines of this EV.
Well, I think
EV revolution.
It's really changed dramatically, right? So this is, I think I'm going on my second anniversary. This is 2 years that I'm taking this Polestar journey. And in the beginning, when we first launched, it was before the Inflation Reduction Act and those tax incentives. And it was during the time that there was major shortage of inventory, but we had a ton of inventory. So in the beginning, it was very interesting. We were getting these very sophisticated early adopter EV buyers that were basically like EV flippers. I mean, they knew everything. These people knew the time to buy a Bolt because they were giving away a complimentary home charger. And then they knew based on the market that they could get the Bolt, get the free charger, then trade in the Bolt, get more for the Bolt than they paid for it from me.
Oh, they just were working it.
I mean, they worked the tax incentive, the $7,500 at the time. They worked it brilliantly. And I mean, it was fantasy land for us because we had inventory, we had great value pricing. We were getting in the most beautiful trades you've ever seen in your life. And we were like high-fiving each other. We thought we were the smartest guys in the block. Obviously, it's
like when you have a first child and that child just happens to have a pretty subdued personality. You're like, what's with all these other parents that suck, right? Then you have the second one and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I wasn't that brilliant.
It was crazy. The market conditions were crazy. And then we navigated. So the earlier tax incentives go away. IRA comes out. Manufacturers are still figuring out, do we give $7,500 on a lease? What's going on? We have a major shortage of product, and it was super, super challenging. And it was challenging in many ways, and still challenging because it's like, okay, I'm in a mall, I'm open 7 days a week. My traditional car guy and gal who's looking to, sell a car for $10,000 over MSRP or something like this, I can't attract. The people that I'm getting are coming from these startups that you would love. Like we were getting, resumes from Peloton, resumes from Apple, all these things that the manufacturers are like dreaming of. How do we get these people? We're getting these people in, and then we're figuring out, okay, these people might know tech really good, but they're really not that great at building relationships. They're not there to pick up the phone on the first ring after the sale when the customer has a question on DMV or or how servicing works. So like it blew my mind with the people.
So now what's the transition? Like
So,
where
I mean,
are you sourcing?
We're learning. We're still learning every day. We really are.
Yeah.
We're it is changing, right? Because what I have to say, when Elon bought Twitter or X as it is now, I mean, people are coming in all day long being like, screw Elon. We want choice. We want a Polestar. Again, I love this. Like it's a startup.
That's a constantly moving market, just a moving target at all times.
Exactly. And that's why I signed up, and I love it because it's like, all right, we're gonna try to make it. I was an early Fisker dealer when
oh, no way.
Yeah. It was probably like the third brand I acquired that, and that was just a major failure. But this is a little bit different. I mean, I like to say, a lot of the EV startups right now are still fantasy land. Like if you look at the Rivians and the Lucids, they're if you look at their sales numbers, they're really not selling a lot of cars. I mean, we're at least real life. We've got cars on the ground. We have real buyers. They're coming in every day. They're coming in for service every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then a whole nother part of this is that Polestar is an online first brand. So it's negotiation free, and the customer's journey really is their journey online.
How does that handoff happen?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So
he's like inquiring. Remember the 2 years thing?
That's a big topic of conversation, right? How do we hand off from digital to in person? And you feel like with a digital first brand, maybe you have an insight or two because it's designed for the handoff.
The insight is it's constantly changing. Okay. In the beginning, these early adapters that I told you about, they could complete the sale from A to Z. Okay. They could do it. And we'd wake up in the morning and we'd have
tech savvy, great credit.
Let me tell you about credit. Okay. Bad credit, near prime, not subprime, but near prime credit, loves a brand that does everything online because they no longer have to come into the store and face rejection.
Ooh.
So we had a lot of near prime credit in the beginning because they just wanted to see if they get approved. I mean, they could sit at home in their pajamas and see if the deal's going to get hung.
So near prime is like, and like, I just want to make sure because there's a lot of people that might not know, like that 630 to 680 type range ish. Yeah.
And I think I'm not the first to say this. I think there's a lot of used car independents, and they see the same thing. If their digital retailing was strong, if they had the tools in place, they would see a lot of near prime. I think Carvana was really successful with this because in that market because people didn't want to go into a traditional dealership and face rejection. So that's
Wow.
one thing. But we wake up in the morning and we get the orders and we high five each other. Yes, we're awesome. And then it really kind of dried up because people really weren't willing to hit that button without someone kind of holding their hand. So
Yep.
we would get a lot of inbound phone calls. Hey, I'm about to place this order on this car. Can you walk me through it? Can you help me hit the button? So it's all over the board. And I think at the end of the day, you gotta be a chameleon. You gotta be able to do both.
You still right. There's still no people still buy the cars, right? And people are in all kinds of situations with all kinds of emotional attachments and all kinds of challenges. So like buying a car online only, you're just again like a proof case that it's just not I don't think it's ever going to be a reality.
Well, there were all these struggles that we had. So for example, we have a central stock methodology upholsterer where we don't stock cars. Okay, it's centrally stocked. But we do have some cars that are on the ground, and those cars, and I think there's a lot of Ford stores out there that could experience the same thing. Customer orders a Lightning falls through. Okay, it's supposed to be central stock online only, so now it's sitting on the ground. Okay, so then you start to build up some sort of ground stock, and because it's like an online negotiation free process, customers would go anywhere for a certain color or certain option. EVs are built for leasing, and we do a lot of leasing. So having a trailer hitch on a car that's pre-installed at the port, that means that trailer hitch can get residualized fully, and it's a lot cheaper than installing it at the service department, paying full price if you lease it. So like you would see a customer that would go, 5 states over because that car on the ground had the trailer hitch. Wow. So it really, Hometown Motors went away because these consumers are so smart. Their inventory systems on Reddit were better than any manufacturer I've ever seen. They knew.
Unreal.
They knew. And that's why we need these people to incubate these ideas, because these Reddit groups, right? They had all the inventory on the ground of every store when that's not publicized ever. They outlined all the dock fees for every space. So the Florida dealers have a $9.95 dock fee, and the New York dealers have a $175 dock fee. I mean, these consumers are super smart.
Wow.
Dealing
You're like, have them build the digital retailing tool.
Recruiting. It's like CIA, right? You're going to find the people that are breaking your stuff the most, and then you're going to hire them.
I listen, I've always embraced them. I've had people that are on our team and they want to fight that lease hacker guru that knows rates and risks. I always try to train, embrace them. Great.
You're just going to
you did your
him.
homework.
Right.
Let's make this quick and easy. But yeah, so I mean, I'm learning I have so many learnings regarding this. One major learning was really the difference between being brand dedicated EV and, let's just say, the typical Mercedes-Benz store, especially when their EVs first came out. Like, I was hearing horror stories from customers saying nobody knew how charging worked, nobody knew the car. And I've said it's because 5-car Fred turned into the EV specialist. And, that was the person who was responsible for educating this consumer on EVs. And it made that customer experience kind of not amazing. And in our store, because we're all EV, everyone knows EV, we're brand dedicated EV. It's not like, a tug of war process. And I think to this day, you still see that in a Ford store. You'll see that in a Kia Hyundai store. You'll see that in a Mercedes-Benz store where, they've got, a small group of people that know and like to sell EVs, because the masses are still selling nice cars.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick. Okay. As we end, I've got one last question. Are you considering the mall/alternate retail shopping environment for other manufacturers that you currently have or want to have in the future? Do you see a path for that, or is it unique to the Polestar EV brands?
The mall is media. Okay. The mall is media. And
come on.
Put that on a
Just when
shirt
I thought
and
I
print
couldn't
it.
love you anymore.
It is, but the problem is this, right? The eyeballs that are at our space, they might necessarily be my customers, right? Because like this is a mall right outside New York City. It's got a huge international population because people before people fly back to Europe or Asia, they'll stay at the hotel there and do some tax-free shopping before they go home. They might be on a layover. You might have people that are coming through the New York area, and this is a layover before they go to the West Coast. So it's media, but it's not my local media. So I think there definitely needs to be some. I think there's value there, but I think it needs to be co-opt among the entire network, because to have one dealer be responsible for this geographic location, it's really spray and pray, and there's some really, so I learned some really interesting things, and there's some really interesting tools out there that track, where the people come from, where they go afterwards, that we don't really use in automotive retail, but all the big box retailers use it.
Yep.
So I mean, it's long-winded, like it's fantastic, but it's really it's not my local. It's not my local traffic, so I think we all need to share.
You're not putting Lincolns in there.
No, I mean, I'm not. I mean, again, and maybe it's just geography. Like if I was in another part of the country
where the mall was a center point for the community, right? You'd reconsider it'd be a different.
Exactly. But where I'm not, no. But yeah, I mean, right now for a new brand that nobody really knows what it is, I understand why they want to be there. If we weren't there, I probably wouldn't be the dealer. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the next few years.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Matt, just a ton of insight, super fun. You're going to be at ASOTUCon, and obviously around the ASOTU verse on the Wheelhouse. If people haven't caught that podcast with Daniel Gover, they got to check it out. But thanks for sharing a little bit of time with us here on Autoclass.
Anytime, guys. Thanks so much.
How about when Matthew says, I don't consider my mall location, he's like, the mall location for him, he goes, I consider that as media.
As media.
Oh, that just made me fall over.
Man, it's crazy. Actually, one of my favorite things. I don't know if you know who Steve on LinkedIn is, and I just call him Steve on LinkedIn because he's always the antithesis to every conversation.
I DM'd him and told him I would give him a free ticket to ASOTUCon
just to show his real face.
Absolutely.
I think he's somebody else. I don't know, but he very respectfully declined.
So his, like, one of his things that he always comes back to, he's like, well, do you put your building and your sign in your advertising dollars? Because it's the biggest advertising dollars you're possibly spending, because everybody puts it on the corner of a space, right?
Yep.
And it's like, oh, so you mean if I put a whole retail location in a mall where people are just passing by and maybe they can't do everything right there and they can't test drive in it, but it must be media because I'm driving traffic through it? Like, that's retail mindset right there.
That is totally.
This is something too. That this is a call back / call forward to conversations that were happening 6, 7, 8 years ago, where many people in the industry were predicting smaller floor plans, smaller showrooms, maybe mall locations, and you're starting to see that. It's kind of no surprise to me that you're starting to see that. I mean, when I was in New York recently, we stumbled upon this mall in a skyscraper in Hudson Yards, and sure enough, dealerships inside of there, and having this whole experiential type thing. Cool. And so it just makes sense to me, and I love Matthew's mindset around how he's thinking about that.
I love that Michael just brought that mall up. Kyle, the first time we ever, that was like our very first, let's conceptualize what we're going to do together.
Was it at that mall?
We went to that mall. I think we ate at Shake Shack.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a Shake Shack in there. Yeah, it's the same mall.
It's right. Yeah, it's right next to the VaynerMedia offices. Oh, well,
pounding around on keys.
On that note, our buddy Matt is right there. I'm sure he's been there. But we hope you had fun on this episode of Auto Collabs. We sure did. Make sure you follow Matt and everything he's doing. because he's been one of those sleepers in the industry that everyone's about to figure it out. So on behalf of Kyle Mountsier, Michael Cirillo, and myself, thanks for listening to Auto Collabs.
Welcome to Auto Collabs. Why are we recording?
Are we rolling?